Hello, friends. Welcome back to the Test Those Breasts podcast. I am your host, Jamie Vaughn. I'm a retired teacher of 20 years and a breast cancer thriver turned staunch, unapologetic, loud supporter and advocate for others, bringing education and awareness through a myriad of medical experts, therapists, caregivers, and other survivors. A breast cancer diagnosis is incredibly overwhelming with the mounds of information out there, especially on Dr. Google. I get it. I'm not a doctor, and I know how important it is to uncover accurate information, which is my ongoing mission through my nonprofit. The podcast includes personal stories and opinions from breast cancer survivors and professional physicians, providing the most up-to-date information at the time of recording. Evidence, research, and practices are always changing, so please check the date of the recording and always refer to your medical professionals for the most up-to-date information. I hope you find this podcast a source of inspiration and support from my guests. Their contact information is in the show notes, so please feel free to reach out to them. We have an enormous breast cancer community ready to support you in so many ways. Now let's listen to the next episode of Test Those Breasts. Hello, friends. Before we jump into part 2 of my conversation with Arianna Bennett, if you haven't listened to part 1 yet, I definitely recommend going back and starting there. In this next part, we go deeper into what it actually looks like to navigate cancer in real time. The decisions, the emotions, the identity shifts, all of it. Arianna shares so honestly about things people don't always talk about, from cold capping and hair loss to what it feels like to be seen as a cancer patient out in the world. This is the human side of it, the part you don't always see, but the part that matters so much. Let's get into part 2.
I'm not sure if I told you, but I partner with Know Your Lemons Foundation. Are you aware of them? And
No.
if not, we need to talk. So I am called a lemonista, and Know Your Lemons is all about educating the world about the signs of breast cancer and knowing your risk and knowing what to do at, what point or whatever, and some of the preventions and things like that. So I went through their it's like a training, became a lemonista. So I go out and I teach breast health classes and using their curriculum. And it's super cute. They use lemons for visuals so that it's not sexualized. The founder uses an egg carton with 12 lemons in it, and she puts all of the visuals on the lemons so that you can understand, like, if you see something, a change in your breast, like, we know our body best. So knowing how to do an actual breast exam on our actual real one. So some people just kind of feel around on their boobs, but you need to really go up into your lymph nodes and all the way around in your armpits and things like that. And it has an app where it reminds you to do your breast exam and what to look for. And so I am just part of this global effort to educate as many people as possible to, if they notice something on their breast, to go in and not just wait. I just interviewed someone and her episode released on Wednesday. It was episode 106, Zainab. So her grandmother and mother died of breast cancer. They both had stage 1. They passed away. So when Zainab got her breast cancer, and she did not have the BRCA, none of them did. But when they died, Zainab decided that she was gonna go ahead and do a constant check on her breast. So she didn't do it once a month. She did a breast exam in the shower every single day. And she was too young to get her screenings because her mom and her grandmother did not have the BRCA gene. They weren't gonna allow her to do that. But she felt a lump, brought herself in, advocated for herself, and sure enough, had breast cancer. So
Jeez.
these things are so important for us to listen to our bodies and to push. So kudos to your OBGYN for pushing for that. Really,
Yeah.
really. And I feel like I know that voice. I kind of feel like I know who that is. I don't know.
I
Talk
mean,
about
I'll name drop her. I think she's amazing. She's one of
yeah.
those who I wish I could collect as a friend. Dr. Sarah Working is her name.
Oh,
She's
I've
at
heard yeah, I've heard of her.
OBGYN Associates, and she's brilliant and amazing, and I've been meaning to send her, like, an edible arrangement or a
Well,
bouquet of flowers or something, donuts, because since she was so very pushy, it
mhm.
forced my hand, and it was something I desperately needed to do. So, yeah, no, she's amazing. I can't recommend her highly enough.
Well, thank you for bringing her name up because I'm actually looking for someone
Yeah,
so
tell her
influenced,
I
right?
say hi.
And thank you so much because so let's go back to this cold capping thing.
Yeah.
How is it working for you? Would you recommend it to others?
Okay, so I mean, I've got a headband on, but I do still have hair.
Okay.
It's wet right now and thinner, definitely. I'm halfway through the chemo process now. For perspective, I would imagine at this point, if I had not done any cold capping, I'd be bald as a cue ball.
Yep.
So it's clearly working. It's definitely thin compared to how it was. I had a lot of hair before, really, like, a lot of thick hair,
Mhm.
and I've got some, like, patchiness going on, like, so you can kinda see, like, some thinner areas, but it's working, and aside from maintaining the hair I have, I think the really neat thing about the cold capping is that the studies are showing that even if you lose your hair while cold capping, it prevents damage to the follicles so that it grows back faster and healthier after. So what they told me was even if you lose your hair, even if it thins enough that you don't like the way it looks, you end up shaving it off anyway, keep doing it through all
Oh,
your cycles because it's like it makes your hair grow back way faster and way healthier than it would have otherwise. So, it's just regaining your life a little sooner. And for those who will look into this at all, as you mentioned, there are two different types of cold capping. So there's the kind of DIY kind where you order it, they send you a set of caps, you bring them yourself. It's not through your infusion center. You handle all of it. And it is a cumbersome process where you have to swap out your cap like every 20 minutes through your whole
yeah.
infusion, and you have to store it in dry ice, and it's expensive, and you have to deal with insurance not paying for it and all of it. So I was not about to go through that, especially for results that are not guaranteed. But at Conrad, and I believe it's the only place in town that has this, they have what's called the Paxman system. And it's a machine that's like, it's a machine that you plug into. So they fit you with like a custom helmet type thing. And I can show you if you want to see it. But it fits really tightly to your head, and it is kind of like an ice pack on steroids. They plug it into a machine while you're having your chemo, and it freezes your scalp, but you don't have to do anything. You just sit there and have your scalp frozen. I won't lie to you, it is not the most comfortable thing on the planet. It kind of feels like an ice cream headache for the first, like, 15 minutes, so it hurts, but then you go numb. And then it's just kind of like having a cold, tight bike helmet
Yeah.
on, for the rest of the time. It does extend the amount of time you have to be in the chair. So you have to get there early to do the pre-freezing before they start the chemo. The idea is it shrinks the hair blood vessels so the chemo can't reach the hair follicles.
Okay.
Um, and then you have to stay for an hour and a half after you finish the chemo to keep the cold cap on while the chemo kind of works its way through. In general, if hair loss is something that, like me, you found to be pretty traumatic, the idea of it and the idea of preserving as much of it as possible was appealing. I think it's worth it and I would recommend it. I know not every chemo protocol is a good fit for it. I think some chemo is harder on hair than others. And some, if you have to do chemo like daily or weekly, it might just be too much for the cold capping to work. But for my protocol, which as I understand it is a pretty common one, it's the TC protocol. I do one infusion every 3 weeks. It's supposed to work pretty well. I know TC is hard on hair. So
Mhm.
not all chemo makes you lose your hair, by the way, but my protocol did, and, so I don't know, I mean, worth a try if it's something that, like me, was an upsetting concept. Don't feel silly. Like, I felt silly definitely because I know it'll grow back, but, like, it's a part of your identity. Like, your hair is it's a visual signal of health, and I think the hard part for me was, like, if I go out in public bald, it's like a beacon to the world,
It
like cancer patient, like that's a cancer patient, you know, and just like, I don't know that I like wanted to exist in the world like that. So this maintaining at least some hair has helped me kind of exist in the world normally without it being such a visual signal of like, oh, she's a cancer patient.
Yeah, I remember reading a book when I was diagnosed, and somebody was talking about the first time they went out in public with, their turban or beanie or whatever, and somebody saying something to her, and that was the first indication that's like, "Holy shit, I actually look sick. I actually look like a cancer patient," and have
Yes.
that realization, and that actually happened to me, and my husband and I were out to dinner with a couple of friends, and we were sitting out on this patio, and I had this really cute, it was like a scarf. It was like a coral scarf that I was wearing. After we were finished, we walked out of the restaurant, and this guy came chasing me out of the restaurant into the parking lot and said, excuse me." And I turned around. I'm like, "Are you talking to me?" And our friends and my husband was standing right there. They said, he said, "Do you, do you have breast cancer?" And I said, "Oh my God." It was like, how did you know?" Uh,
Yeah.
and he said, "I just want to let you know how beautiful you are. And my wife inside the restaurant is also going through breast cancer, and I saw your scarf, and I hope that that wasn't overstepping. I just wanna let you know that I'm giving you so much strength and power, and just to let you know how beautiful you are." And I was just like, so oh my god, I mean, I'll cry about it again. I was really blown away, not only at the kindness of the guy, but the fact that for the first time, somebody saw me out in public and knew that I had cancer. It was really
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, it's both, right? It's like you love the kindness. Thank you, like, for being so loving and warm and supportive, like, that's great, but at the same time, it is just that realization of like, "Okay, like, I guess I am a cancer patient and everyone's gonna know it," and I don't know. It's a juxtaposition for me that doesn't entirely make sense because I have been so open about it on television, so, like, it's not like it's a secret, but it's like I still wanna reserve the right to, like, run to the store and pick something up and have everyone not looking at me like, "She's bald," you know?
Yeah.
I don't know. And maybe I'll get over it. I'm not quite at the point where I felt like I needed to shave it off. I have kind of like a little bit of thinness and patchiness, but I might get to the point where it looks bad enough that I'm like, it's gotta go." And when it starts growing out too, then that's a whole other part of the
It
conversation
is.
because then you're gonna have like, just little baby hairs with like your old long hair. So at some point, it's all gonna have to get cut. I just don't entirely know what that looks like yet.
I actually just shaved one of my friend's heads the other day. She's
Yeah.
going through uterine cancer, and she's gone through her first chemo, and it was falling out, so I shaved it off for her. She came over, we had a little girls' afternoon, and so and I remember when my hair grew back, it just had all of these stages. It grew back super dark and curly. Yeah, it was really weird. But my hair actually is thicker now, and it's super healthy, and I didn't do the cold capping. I didn't wanna go through that whole
Yeah.
thing. I watched 2 girls go through the cold capping with their husbands and all the things that they had to do. And yes, oh, hey, I
Gosh.
you mentioned a little while ago if I wanted to see it. Do you have that?
Yeah.
The thing that
Yeah. I'll grab
yeah,
it.
I wanna see it.
Yeah.
Let's
Give me a
show
sec.
the audience. Yeah.
So, my co-anchor, Kristen Remington, actually did a whole story on this. If anybody wants to see it, I'll send the link and you can maybe
Yeah,
add
we can
that
put
to
it in yeah, we can put it in
the
the show
links.
notes.
So it's kind of cool because she takes you inside the center and shows the fitting for the cap and everything. So it's cool to see it. But yeah, so they give you this like whole kit. You go in and they
Nice.
do a custom fitting with an expert, which is amazing. And they try different sizes of caps on you and then eventually send you home with the one that fits you the best. It is so interesting how the whole process works. But I'll just show you the cap itself. Looks like a brain kind of. So this is the outside of it. This is like the tube that gets plugged into the
Oh,
machine.
wow.
And then this is the inside piece that it goes over your head like this,
Okay.
and then you can't see it, but it's full of liquid. And
Okay.
then when they
Freeze.
plug it into the machine, the liquid freezes and it's tight to your head, as you can see. And then this goes on to insulate it and tighten it, and it gets very, very cold. But like I said, it's like 15 minutes of ice cream headache, and then you kind of go numb, and then it's not comfortable, but it's chemo. Chemo is not
So
comfortable either.
do something. Why you bring a lot of things to do with your chemo. You know, you're going to be spending so many hours there. Draw, you can read, you can listen to the, radio or any this podcast.
Yeah. I've been bringing a buddy and doing buddy shifts of, like, people coming in to hang out and chat with me while it's going on. Like, various friends coming in and just, like, giving us like, I get this opportunity to sit and just download their lives for a few hours, which is kind of fun. At my age, everyone is working and raising kids,
Yeah.
and so they're all so busy. All of my best friends have these crazy busy lives, and if there's one really big blessing of cancer, it's that everybody drops everything to hang out with you. So I've had so much unrestricted time with all of my favorite people who, like, drop everything to come hang out with me while I'm having chemo. And that's been amazing because it's like this gift of time that we wouldn't have otherwise. Cancer forces us to slow down whether we want to or not. And I am personally enjoying the piece of it that allows me to, like, really sit with my people and, like, really have quality time, without being like, okay, I gotta go. Like, I have to get to work, or I have to go, get the kids, or I gotta, do a million different things. Everyone is just kind of like, nope, we
Well,
throw out the agenda.
with that being said, you and I had a conversation when we were pre-interviewing. Not everybody has that, right? So, like, there's like sort of a disparity in a lot of different things when it comes to our healthcare. We have a question here about communities and how they can better show up for someone in treatment, especially for because, like, you have a ton of friends. I have a shit ton of friends. Like, they all showed up. I mean, we had a meal train. I had people who went to my infusions with me. I have a great husband. You have a great husband. But not everybody has that. How can communities show up better for these people?
Oh gosh,
I
my
mean,
heart goes out to people who are going through it, no matter what. But without a support system, I don't know how anybody does it. I think that it has been absolutely mandatory for me for my mental health and my well-being and just, logistical needs to have all my people. So, gosh, I mean, I think, and I haven't even really looked into if this is available. I think the things that I would have needed without my people. You need transportation to appointments because you can't drive yourself to and from chemo. You need someone to talk to, which I guess, you could get that in the form of a counselor or therapist. And they do offer that at every cancer, office I've been to. They have offered that. So I at least I'm glad that that seems to be a fairly standard thing now. Conrad offers peer support, counseling or peer to peer, which I think is really cool. I haven't done it, but they have offered it where they'll pair you with a survivor who has been through the same thing, who's willing to talk to you about their experiences. I think that's amazing. So I think part of it is just taking advantage of the resources that exist already. But gosh, yeah, I mean, I know that Moms on the Run offers some good resources for people who need help, but in my case, I just think, like, you know, don't forget to ask. Those who love you wanna help you, and, so, ask.
yeah.
Ask for
Yeah,
what
it
you
is.
need.
And also for people who are not going through it, but they have someone that they love that are going through it. I would say research what they have, research what they have to go through so that you have a better understanding of their world
so that you can better support them. Things that you probably
Yeah.
shouldn't say to them because we all do hear things from people's like, why would you say something like that? Like, it's amazing. It's amazing the conversations that I've had with people. It's like, yeah, oh well, at least you got the good kind of cancer. Like, what?
I've had a few my aunt or sister or whatever had breast cancer in so and so year and she died.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm like,
What?
"Oh, okay."
Like,
You
you
know,
really
and
don't.
I don't fault him. I know, it's hard. Like, it's hard to know what's okay. Like, I'm not gonna,
Right.
uh, you know,
You
be
certainly
offended
learn
by
when
that.
you have had it though, like, my mom died, and I remember some of the things that were said to me, so I thought to myself, "God, I hope I probably said that to people. Now I know, and now I've had
Yeah.
cancer. Now I know some of the things that probably aren't really good." I had somebody, message me, like, at 10:30 at night the night before I was going to get my port, and she said, "I just wanted to let you know because I did the Optavia plan, and lost a lot of weight, and, I was a coach and I loved it. I felt so good before I had cancer." And
Nice.
people said things like, "Look, Jamie, but you're so healthy." Like, healthy people can't get cancer. And I didn't even I mean,
Right.
I thought the same thing probably, but she said to me, she said, my sister has a friend of a friend who did the Optavia plan and lost a ton of weight, and then shortly after that, got a really aggressive breast cancer. That stuff has a lot of soy in it. I just wanted to tell you.
Ugh,
And I was like,
crying out loud.
Why are
Yeah.
why are you sending me a message at 10:30 at night to tell?" And I actually asked Dr. Chu about that previous. I said, "It's could it be like soy?" And she's like, no. She said, "That's the lowest of the low concerns we even have." Like, that's myth has been debunked a long time ago. It was like a scare we had, like, 20 years ago when all of us were like, "Oh, don't eat soy." And then it turned out to be a bunch of bullshit. So, anyway,
But
depends on
regardless,
where it
okay.
soars.
And I like I would say I'm not one to jump down someone's throat for saying the wrong thing because I get it. Like we're all
Yeah.
human and we have awkward moments. But don't do that. Like
No, it
don't
wasn't
come at us with, "Oh, it must have been because you did this thing that gave you,"
yeah,
like no.
you
No.
did
We
it to
don't want to
yourself.
hear your whacked out theories, your pseudoscience
Yeah,
about the reason why I got. You don't know what you're talking about.
right,
Don't act like you know what you're
right,
talking about. Like, that drives me up
yeah,
a wall. That's why we have doctors. If you
yeah,
wanna go be a research scientist, go do it and publish your findings. But, like, don't come at me with, "This is why this happened to you," or, like, or, "Have you looked at how much sugar you're eating?" Or, "Have you" No, not helpful. Like, "This already happened to me. I don't need you speculating about why or what habits I could potentially have that caused it." No. Like, there's as every doctor has told me, no way to know for sure with
right,
the amount of knowledge we have. And so just trying to fact find, is it because I ate too much red meat or is it because I, spent too much time in the sun? Like who knows? Um you're never going to know. Don't agonize over it. We just move forward. Keep your eyes forward. There's no point in going back because unless it's like a lung cancer caused by smoking or something where we know there's a direct connection, like
right,
it's
we're
just a
out.
guessing game and it's just gonna drive you nuts.
Yeah, and, yeah, so education, that's why I'm so much into the education piece, and just making sure I'm amplifying stories to help with all kinds of things, like, early detection,
Yeah.
screenings, knowing your risk, mental health things that you can do, to help yourself. So, with that, how are you personally staying grounded these days?
Um, Gosh, I dogs help. I was
Really?
saying to my husband the other day, I think like probably the number one thing I would tell people if they're gonna go through chemo is get a dog. Like a snuggly dog. I mean, I'm a dog person anyway, and I already had to, but I just feel like having that kind of like totally non-judgmental love where they like don't care if you haven't showered in 5 days and you smell like chemo. Like it is just really nice. They don't expect you to talk or do anything other than snuggle and take them for walks, which is also hugely important during chemo to be physically active and move, even though the last thing you want to do is move. You have to do it. And so I think both the non-judgmental snuggles and love plus the you need to get up and walk this dog is huge. So I gotta give a lot of credit to the puppies. Family, like kids, like, they understand some of it, but they're still kids and they still have needs. So it's a great distraction. They can't be focusing on cancer when I'm focusing on you. So I don't know, maybe having stuff in your life that has nothing to do with cancer and needs you has been helpful for me. Just like when I can work, so helpful. I just get and I just I'm in a totally separate sphere where it has nothing to do with cancer and I'm focusing on something else. And family and all that is
Yeah.
helping a lot. Not just like, don't sit around and wallow. You gotta still have a purpose, which is hard sometimes because sometimes you can't do anything else. And every now and then the wallow is gonna happen. I had one of those this week. I had a full wallow on like Tuesday or Wednesday this week where I was just like so annoyed. Like, oh, I'm just so useless. I'm sick of feeling useless. But I got back to work and then it went away.
And it's also to wallow. It's also okay to wallow, and it's okay
Yeah.
to feel that way, and then you pop out of it. I highly recommend the dog theory.
Yes.
We had 2 dogs at that time, and Delilah was my love, my soft. She got me through the death of my mom in 2019 and through cancer, and then she passed away about little over 2 years ago. So, but I will never forget her. She was my everything, and she did. She just laid around with me and made sure I was okay, whether it be on the bed or off the bed, and she just was wonderful, so I
Mhm.
highly recommend that. Yeah, and also
The
having
best.
a routine, like, my husband and I set a routine, so I had just retired from the school district, so my first year of retirement was completely different than I had envisioned,
Right.
and so we made this plan, though. I said, "I want to be able to go camping," so we made a plan that I would have my chemo, then I would feel like crap that first week. I would be feeling a little bit better the second week, and by the third week, I was feeling like a human being and I could do something. So we always had a plan to go somewhere different each time. We went paddleboarding, we went to a different place to camp than we'd ever been to, brought the dogs with us, and I got comfortable enough. I remember at Lake Davis, I was it was midweek camping, so there was barely anyone there, but I was out on the lounge chair. I had my kimono on and I was full on bald. And the camp host came up and she's like, "Hello." And I'm like, "Oh my God." And I put my hat on. It's like I was naked or something. I said, "Sorry." I said, I'm going through chemo. And she says, "Oh, I kind of figured I went through it too." And so I was like, "Okay." So but having a routine, I think, is really important. A purpose, something to look forward to, and that walking piece that you just talked about is so important. So I would have my chemo, we'd come home, we'd go on a walk every single night around the block with the dogs. And that was my exercise. And I remember that was because it helps with the efficacy of the chemo as well. So,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep. And weirdly enough, I found that I'll go into it just like, ugh, this is the last thing I want to do. And I will come out of it feeling better, like
Yeah.
feeling more energized. It also makes a big difference if you're doing the new Lasta, which I don't know if you did that, where for your immunity. So it's a injection to stimulate your bone marrow to create
Oh,
more
yeah.
white blood cells. Yeah.
Yes.
And it hurts. The bone pain for me at least has been horrible.
Mhm.
And the more I move, the better the bone pain feels, which is so counterintuitive because it hurts to move. But then once you're moving, I swear it's the only thing that helps. Nothing else helps with the bone pain other than walking. So I'm trying to do 2 miles every day.
Good.
I haven't managed it every single day of chemo, but that's the goal.
Good. So if someone listening was just diagnosed today and is in the middle of treatment like you, what would you want them to hear?
Hmm. All right. Well, if you're just diagnosed today, um, I would say the fear of the thing is almost guaranteed to be worse than the thing itself. And we all have seen depictions of cancer, and we've all seen depictions of chemo on movies or TV or whatever, and it makes it look really, really horrifying, and it isn't fun. I promise it's not a fun experience, but it is not as bad as what you have seen or what you are imagining in your head. So, if you can, take a breath and remember that we can get through anything. And even if it's unpleasant, it is an experience that will end. And so that I think is helpful to me. If you're in the middle of chemo, hey, I gosh, be kind to yourself. I don't know. I'm not always great about this because again, type A planner, I like to have my life dialed in. And you can't, so just let it go and give yourself some grace because you will get back to you eventually, um, just not right now.
Yeah. That's great. It's such great advice. And I just reaching out to community partners here in town too. I mean, we've got them, and wherever you are in your community, I think that's such a good idea. And I really do think that I feel like you and I are going to do some work together because
I'm
you
in.
and I
Yeah.
have this motivation to help the breast cancer community and really any kind of cancer. I surround myself with a lot of people who have just different kinds of cancer, and so we can understand what everyone's going through in a way. So I just feel like we have some important work to do, and I'm visualizing things happening. So
I'm
I
in. I mean, like you said, and you told me this in the pre-interview that you just felt you needed to do something to make it meaningful, and that's exactly how I have felt through all this. Like, you're going through this thing and it sucks, but if you can turn it into something useful, it makes it feel like there's a purpose to it instead of just needless suffering. And I think that that's huge. And also talking about it with other people is mutually beneficial. It really is kind of like free therapy. Cancer is something that you can't really understand fully until you're in it. So talking to other people who have been in it makes a massive difference. So thank you for doing the podcast. It's been fun for me and hopefully helpful to
It's
listener.
been very, very helpful, and I've got your, contact information. We'll have that in the show notes. You also put in there a link to the Conrad Breast Center, and the breast cancer risk assessment tool, which is amazing, and the link to Moms on the Run. And I love that our community worldwide really are coming together and collaborating. We patient advocates are collaborating with each other. I hope that maybe next year you can come to the San Antonio Breast Cancer Symposium that I went to just this past December. It blew me away at the research that's been happening and all of the patient advocates who showed up and how those patient advocates are so valued because of our lived experience that I think that you would have a really good time. And
That
we would
sounds amazing.
meet so many fun people. I mean, because I started the podcast just to start the podcast and talk about it, and then it turned into a nonprofit, and I've got all these other ideas that I'm thinking of and doing. So it is very helpful, and especially for our mental health too, and to know that we are impacting other people. So, is there anything that you would like to say before we wrap up today?
Now's a great time to schedule that mammogram. That's kind of been my mantra. Don't skip your screenings and find out about your genetic risk. It could save your life. Do it now. Don't put it off. Even if it's bad news, the the bad news exists whether you know about it or not. So it's happening to you whether you know about it or not. It is better to know so that you can do something about it. So that's kind of that's the message, and also, thank you to everyone who's reached out, whether other survivors or viewers or just random people in the community. I have never felt more loved in my entire life. While I wouldn't recommend cancer, it is a oddly validating experience to go through. So, just thank you to you and to the community and to everyone who's made it that way.
I love it. I love the way you said that the bad news is there regardless of whether you know about it or not. That is extraordinarily powerful. So thank you. And Arianna, I appreciate you being on the show. It's so good to connect with you. I'm excited about what we can do in the future. And thank you just for telling your story. And you have a wonderful perspective. And I wish you all the love and strength going forward in this treatment. And we'll be in touch for sure.
All right. Thanks, Jamie.
You bet. And to my audience, thank you again for joining us on this episode of Test Those Breasts. And we will see you next time on the next episode. Bye for now. Friends, thank you so much for listening to this episode of Test Those Breasts. I hope you got some great, much needed information that will help you with your journey. As always, I am open to guests to add value to my show, and I'm also open to being a guest on other podcasts where I can add value. So please reach out if you'd like to collaborate. My contact information is in the show notes. And as a reminder, rating, reviewing, and sharing this podcast will truly help build a bigger audience all over the world. I thank you for your efforts. I look forward to sharing my next episode of Test Those Breasts.